This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Well, joining us today is Andrew Bell, the CEO of Red Rock Resources. Thank you very much for joining us today, Andrew. How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. I believe you are currently travelling. You're in Harare, which is in Zimbabwe. This is, of course, where Red Rock Resources have their lithium interests. So could you tell us a bit about your trip, what the purpose of the trip is, and indeed give us an update on the lithium project?
Yes, well, of course, we've got some lithium projects here, and we've announced them. And we had one or two people here on the ground. We got a retired, but very experienced geologist here to go and have a look with a consultant from South Africa who works for an Indian origin, UK-based entrepreneur who we know well. And they had a look and they came to certain conclusions. We've discussed it since. And so now we're doing a proper trip with the Indian entrepreneur, with myself, with the geologist from South Africa, and with Dirk, who we'd employed as a consultant geologist here, the guy with 30, 40 years experience. And he is part of the new arrangements, which have yet to be fully fleshed out, is joining Willem and Sam on their side of things. So come off our payroll, go onto theirs. And I think there's another Zimbabwean living in South Africa who's going to be flying up, who will be the operations man in a way. He hasn't reached here yet. So we're having a lot of meetings about all of that, and we'll make a report once we've taken that a little further. The object, of course, now is to get material of good enough grade to export, and that requires really above 3%. And that is a change in strategy from when we started, when we thought we could start off by selling some into the local market and then gradually make our way into exports. The government has really made it clear they want people to be exporting, and that to get a production or sale license, you have to have a customer lined up. So we've spoken to, I know it's 3, it may have been 4 Chinese groups about offtake, and one of them is flying in and meeting Sam in Dubai on the way back to London. So, we're moving ahead on all fronts. And the object, I think, that we have established is that we want to produce as much lithium as quickly as possible, because we are not sure in 3 or 4 years whether China will be moving towards hydrogen cell technology or whether lithium will still be in very high demand. So there's nothing to be lost by just going for it, and that needs some resources and expertise greater than those currently within Red Rock. So somebody who's always run cash flow businesses, who has been intimately involved in the details of trade finance, export finance, and logistics is very valuable added to our team. And somebody with, I think, 38 years experience of working in Africa on projects is also able to contribute a lot, as he keeps on telling me. For all the time I spent here, I don't really understand the Africans the way he does. We shall see about that. But here we are.
So you're out really to have meetings, to meet people, to build the team there, ready to really, you want to get going as soon as possible. Are you looking?
I know we have the team.
You have the team.
Actually, we do detailed planning.
Detailed planning. Well, I mean, you talk about producing lithium. What are we talking about here at the end product? You're talking about spodumene at 3%. Is that right?
Well, I think whether it's spodumene or petalite or
sure,
whatever it is,
but lithium ore of 3%.
Yes.
Okay. And this would be, I'm just thinking, to try and picture the scene. We haven't spoken about Zimbabwe very much. What is the project like? I mean, are you're doing simple kind of processing of ore and then doing a DSO? Is that the idea?
I'm not here to talk about Prem, but borrowed a lot of money. I think it was over 30 million, maybe now over 40 million, with the object of providing a certain volume of lithium ore.
Yes.
And we are talking about, with minimal investment, being able to produce quite considerably more. And that requires a lot of operational experience and people who've really done it before, who understand what they're doing. And we're not going to waste a single penny we don't have to here from now on. And so the object is to set things up so that we are able to increase capacity quite rapidly and just go for it, because the lithium price has come down the last few weeks. And so the name of the game is now not just producing a bit of lithium, but we want to have the volume.
And I wonder if you can just try and describe the scene for me, Andrew. And you mentioned Prem there. Obviously, people can picture Prem quite well. There's a pegmatite. They are blasting. They are then processing the ore. Is it a similar sort of thing with Red Rock?
Yes, it'll be similar.
Okay. So you've got the pegmatites outcropping already, have you? You're looking to start
Yes,
sort of blast.
certainly we have outcropping. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then you're going to almost get going immediately, just blasting and sorting.
Yes, but you have to have a purchase contract now in order to do that.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're just producing into stockpile.
Sure. Okay. And how advanced is that agreement?
Well, I would have preferred to be, coming out with an RNS, which we are doing, and talking about this after the conclusion of our visit. But because the share price has been quite strong today, we want to make sure that the market is up to date with everything we're doing. So even in advance of some of the meetings and site visits, I thought it was good to have a progress announcement.
Okay.
So that's really why we're talking about it now.
Okay.
There'll be a lot more to say after all the visits.
Right. Okay. Well, let's have a catch up then after all the visits. We can talk a bit more in detail about this project, because I do think the market could do with a bit more detail to understand exactly what Red Rock have got going there. But I do understand as well another, of course, big piece of an element of Red Rock, and I think what investors are interested in following is, of course, the situation in the DRC, where we've spoken about this before, and of course the outcome of the arbitration there, and quite a fair bit of money owed to Red Rock, and you are actually heading to the DRC as part of this trip. So what's the latest with this situation?
Well, I think it's actually really clear that the local partner, that VUP, sold 80% of the projects, 80% of the joint venture and of the assets in 2017 in an Australian law contract for $500,000. Now, that since has been adjusted to a 75% sale. Of that 75%, we have 50.1%. So our interest is indefeasible, it seems to me. You cannot possibly say that we do not have those rights. But this local partner then tried to sell the asset behind our back for $20 million. Of course, we missed the first $5 million because we didn't find out about it. It got paid and no doubt was immediately spent in different directions. The other 15 million we managed to intercept before it got paid out, and that's the subject of the arbitration. And so you could say of that 15, we should get 10 because that's our share of the whole, or you could say we should get 7.5 because that's 50.1% of 15. But the arbitration judgment, I don't see how it can be written in terms other than the local partner gets X million dollars and we get Y million dollars. And what's been happening is politicians and people have been trying to get in and do deals on this. The lawyer for the local party has since become a minister, and he's been exerting every influence. He shouldn't be involved at all to try and get in on it. But the beauty of the arbitration is it's a very public form of negotiation or decision, and it has to be published. And it's something also very important to foreign investors to know that the arbitration system works. Secomin from China had just been in a big arbitration there. And so when the result gets published, it more or less has to follow this outline. But we haven't yet got a copy of the judgment. And so I think that it was ready. It was saying all the right things. Some political forces came to bear, but the problem is they can't go paying money to third parties without, first of all, without our say-so, which we wouldn't, and it would then become some kind of private compromise agreement. But it would also be impossible because it would involve us in condoning things that I think would be completely contrary to the Bribery Act. So I think the documentation snookers the people who want to do something wrong here. And the proof of that is that for all their local power, the local party has not been able to get 1 cent paid out. So they have to get it out through us. We have to get it out, in a sense, through them. But in reality, we have to get it out through the arbitration. So I am quietly and reasonably confident we keep the pressure up, and there's no short circuits or ways out of this. We want this done in the full glare of publicity and with public judgment rendered and the thing done properly. And as long as we stick to that, which is, of course, what's natural for us, I think we're all right. And in the last few days, there have been people coming, sidling up to us indirectly, suggesting we might like to take a lesser amount. And no doubt in that case, there'd be an attempt to create some kind of private agreement between the parties so there'd never be any arbitration judgment published. But the very fact we're being offered this now is, I think, a symptom of how strong our case is and how near the result might be expected to be. So, and the president has been very clear and forthcoming on this. The problem is he has many things to do. He can't follow up everything, and you can't get to see him at a moment's notice. But yes, we're on it. We think we've got to get a result, and when we do, everyone will be able to look at it and look at us and say they've done what probably nobody else could have done. So, quietly confident, but I don't want to mislead the market by promising this will happen today or this will happen tomorrow, because there's always a little bit of give in the timings on these things because of the political aspects and the need to dodge all of that.
Given you're going there in a matter of days, what would you hope to achieve from this trip when you come back?
Well, my aim is that when the money actually gets paid across, I should be there sitting in the bank manager's office so that I can make sure that the distribution of monies from our account is entirely proper, and that we have it, because we have to think about all sorts of things there. We probably, without saying too much, we'll do things to protect ourselves from any attempts to scoop, for other people to put their scoops into our money there, and we will want to be getting quite a proportion of it out of the country through trade.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time again today, Andrew Bell, CEO of Red Rock Resources. And let's catch up after the trip on some of the latest developments, both on Zimbabwe and, of course, on the DRC situation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.